What is good, Mexit planners? Many people flock to Merida, Mexico because of the safety and security of the city. Merida is rated as the second safest place in all of North America. That means it's safer than all the cities in the US and only second to one place in Canada. Now, it's also rated as the safest city to live in Mexico. So many Mexican nationals as well as foreigners are flocking to Merida to live and to raise their families. Now, that's not to say that crime doesn't happen here in Merida, because it does. But what it does say is that crimes happen far less and they're less violent than they are in other places around the world. So today I'm going to tell you about the time that I actually had a brush with a security issue here in Merida and had to call the police. So I think it's important that we start this conversation by talking about some of the security features that many of the homes employ here in Merida, Mexico. If you look around, if you drive in neighborhoods, you'll see everything from high walls or walls with broken glass on the top as a security feature. You'll also see walls with electric fencing at the top to deter people from coming in. So the walls of most homes are the first line of defense for folks, protecting your property and protecting from people getting inside of your homes. Now, there's also, you'll see many homes in upscale neighborhoods that have multiple camera systems watching the entire perimeter of the home, as well as, cameras all around the property. In some homes, even the more affluent folks that live in my neighborhood actually have full-time security. There's all sorts of levels of protection that happens. Some people live in privadas, which are private neighborhoods with, a security guard in that checks and makes sure that you can't get in and get out. Other folks live just on a regular street, but on those streets, they may have houses with walls that are, 20 feet tall, as was the case with my previous home where I had the security issue. Let me set the scene for you guys. This started off like a typical Tuesday morning, nothing out of the ordinary. In fact, I was on my way to go for a walk when I came downstairs and I heard my daughter in the family room watching her television shows and eating breakfast in Spanish. Now, this wasn't unusual. It was the normal thing that happened almost every morning, every weekday morning, in fact, in our house at that time. And what struck me as being a little different on this particular morning is I went to my office, which was just the room over, to get my headphones so I could go on my walk. Well, while in my office, I actually understood what was happening on the television in the other room, which actually surprised me because it was all in Spanish. What was happening on the television that my daughter was watching was that she was watching a TV show. It was a cartoon, and the guy was at the door knocking on the door, and there were 3 kids on the inside of the house. Well, the lesson of that cartoon was to tell them not to open the door for strangers. It struck me as an interesting way to teach little kids about strangers and stranger danger and not opening the door. So when they proceeded to open the door because the guy was offering them ice cream or candy or something, when they opened the door, the bad guy tied everybody up, and that was their lesson of why you don't open the door for strangers. During this time, while all of this was happening and I was listening to this program, I actually heard the doorbell ring, but I didn't pay much attention to it or didn't give it any thought because our house had a 18 to 20 foot wall in front of it, and the only ring that we would normally hear for our house is when people would ring the camera, the security camera on the outside, like a Ring doorbell, and it would ring to my phone. So the sound of an actual doorbell ringing wasn't something that would alert me to someone being at the door or on the property. It was simply, I thought it was the television. Fast forward 2 minutes later, I kiss my daughter, tell her to have a great day at school. I put on my shoes and I get ready to head out of the door. Well, this is where everything completely changed that morning. So I open the door and the first thing I see is a guy standing there in front of me. I immediately get aggressive, like, what the heck are you doing here, man? What's going on? See, I don't know how long this man has been inside of my inner wall, and it's an area where I don't expect anybody to be. So I get aggressive with the guy. The guy starts stammering, "Oh no, sir," in Spanish, of course. "Hey, I'm here just to wash your car. Now I'm checking him out, right? And I'm like, he doesn't have a rag, he doesn't have a bucket, he doesn't have a hose or anything to wash a car. So this is a line. And all of this is happening in a matter of seconds. So I get aggressive with the guy. I'm like, get the hell out of here. You know, you beat it, get out of here. And he takes off outside of the gate. He immediately backs up, takes off outside the gate. So now the first thing in my head is to check the car to see, okay, what happened and how is this, what is this guy still out of my car? Now I noticed that he came in and out of the garage and the garage door was open. And what happened was the night before, when we got home, I forgot to press the garage door opener to close the garage door before we went into the house. Now, it wasn't uncommon for me. This isn't the first time that I had left the garage door open, but it was the first time that someone had entered into that space without me knowing it. So what I did at that point was I looked in the car, I checked to see, you know, did he steal anything? Did he open up the center console? Is anything missing from out of there? We didn't really keep much in our car, unlike in the United States where all sorts of things live in the car. Here, that wasn't really the case. Just some paperwork in the glove compartment, you know, maybe a mask or two in the center console, but nothing of any value really was kept in the car. So there wasn't much he could have taken had he stolen something out of the car. But I did check, I looked, you know, and then I decided, you know what, let me go back and check the security footage. So now here's where things get really interesting. I go back and I check the security footage to see exactly what had occurred prior to me coming downstairs, if this man had been in my house, you know, what's going on? Did he enter the car? What's going on? So I'm looking at my security cameras, which you can see on the screen, and I see that this guy, not only does he, you know, he's just kind of hanging around, he rings the doorbell, he steps back, and then he goes over and he's checking out, you know, all around the house. He goes to the second door, which goes from the carport or the garage into the kitchen area, and he actually tries that door handle to see if it's open. Now, mind you, my daughter is in the family room right next to the front door and right where all of this is happening. He could probably actually see her sitting in the family room from where he was positioned on the front porch. And not only does he go and check the second door to the kitchen to see if it's open, but he notices a little plastic piece sitting on a ledge. Now, this is a piece that came off the car seat or something like that. And we just set it there because it wasn't something that we needed and we didn't throw it away. It was just a piece of plastic. He actually picks that up and looks at it to see if maybe there's a key inside or a key underneath or what have you. So now this guy's, you know, looking real suspicious. He's looking for stuff. So the next thing he does is he gets down and he starts doing push-ups. He does like 10 push-ups. And I suspect that he's looking under the wheel to see if maybe there's a key to the car. I see him looking in all the windows. He's kind of checking it out. So at this point, I'm pretty pissed and I'm like about to go find this guy to see where he went, what's going on. Time I leave the house, I leave behind to see exactly which direction he went. I actually start calling the police. Now my adrenaline's up. I'm like, I need to get to this guy, watch what he's doing, see where he's going. When I leave the house, I see him knocking on a few more doors. He's not getting any answers. And then I see him turn the corner and he's walking down the street. Now, I remember a post in one of the Facebook groups that had a list of all of the emergency contacts. I didn't want to dial 911 because this wasn't an absolute emergency. And so I found that list. I found my police precinct, or I found the number to the police non-emergency line, and I called it. So now here I am walking down the street. I'm on the phone and I'm like, yo necesito una policía a mi casa. And the lady's like, okay, where do you live? And I'm telling her the neighborhood, I'm telling her the street. And she's like, what's the problem? I say, you know, tenemos una sospechosos hombre. And she's like, huh? And I'm like, yo, tenemos una suspicious hombre. And yo necesito el policía. She's like, what? I'm like, yo tengo una suspicious hombre, and yo necesito el policía, la policía. Now, I will tell you a couple of things. Tip number one, know what numbers to call in an emergency situation before you need them. Please have it posted on your refrigerator, exactly the number that you need to call. It turns out that particular police precinct that I called initially was for Centro, and I needed the state police, which was not the police that, wasn't the municipal police for Merida. It was actually a different police office for the north of Merida. So I had the wrong police numbers. And one of the things that I was going to do is, I know that the police from my area set at the local OXXO just outside of the neighborhood. So if worst case scenario, I was going to go and physically walk to go find a police officer at the OXXO and tell him, I need you to come with me. This is what happened. During that time, I got the number to the correct police office. I called that number and I said, hola, necesita la policía a mi casa porque yo tengo una sospechosos hambre. Necesita la policía. So in my best Spanish at the time, all pumped up, full of adrenaline, I tell these folks that I need the police. The lady still doesn't understand what I'm saying. So she's like, hold the line, right? She got the address. I was able to articulate that clearly. But with all of my excitement, I really couldn't get the point across that, I need the police. She did understand that I need the police, but she didn't understand the part before, why I needed the police. And so she finally transfers me over. I wait. I'm still walking around looking for, the guy. I'm also looking for a police officer. And finally, they get me on the phone with an English-speaking police officer. The guy asked me what's the situation. I said, look, man, there's a suspicious guy walking around the neighborhood. He was in my inner gate, and I have it all on camera. He was looking for something. He didn't touch the car. He tried my door. He was looking for a key, but he was looking for an opportunity. And they said, no problem, we'll send the police right away. Go back to my house. So I head back to the house. I'm only probably 2 or 3 minutes away from the house. And within, I would say, 3 minutes, 5 different police cars swoop in from all different directions. Now, these guys jump out ready to handle business, right? The guy who gets there first jumps out. He's like, what's the problem? And I'm like, hey, there's a suspicious guy walking around. He doesn't speak English. So I'm like, sospechosos hambre. And he's like, what? I'm like, yes, a sospechosos hambre. Let me just show you the video. So I pull up my phone and I show him the video of what's going on with the guy. And he is recording the video with his phone. He sends it out to all the other guys, which take off and they start looking for the perpetrator. Now, a few minutes later, as I'm explaining to this guy, he's doing his report, another cop rolls in, and that cop is the tourist police. It says Policia Turista on his car, and he jumps out and he speaks English. So he's there, he's like, what happened? I started telling him the story, and he's like, you did the absolute right thing. We got the guy, we found him a few streets over, and he shows me a picture on his phone. He's like, is this him? And I'm like, yeah, that's definitely the guy. Yo, if you're getting any value out of this video, do me a favor and hit that like button. All right, back to the story. He's like, well, we got him. We are talking to him now. But when we approached him, he was a little incoherent and he didn't really understand the questions we were asking him in Spanish. So they determined that this guy was mentally ill and that he was definitely looking for an opportunity. In fact, the tourist police thanked me. He said, you did the absolute right thing by calling us. There are not, violent crimes here in Merida often, but the crimes that you have to be aware of, and this is important, the crimes that you have to be aware of in Merida are going to be property theft or robbery. And so those are the things that happen just like they would in any place, which is why, as I said in the beginning, most homes have big walls, security fences. On the bottom level of their homes, they'll have, security bars and things of that nature, is because property theft can be high. Even in Merida, even in the safest city. So the cops thanked me. They said that they told the guy that, he can't come back to that neighborhood or that area for 30 days. And if he did, he would be arrested. And they went on their way. But before they did, the cop that initially responded, the one that spoke in Spanish only, told me that this was his beat and that he patrols the neighborhoods. And I've seen him, as I'm walking, I've seen him going up and down the streets and what have you. But he patrols the neighborhood. And if I ever need anything, if I'm going to be gone from my house for an extended amount of time, just let him know and he'll park right there, which is what happened after that situation. So the police are super helpful here. which is one of the reasons I believe that the crime is so low. They're also very, very visible. And within 20 minutes of me having this situation, reaching out to the police department, they actually had the guy in custody and had done their investigation and determined what the situation was. So back to one of the things that was really important in this story, and this was simply, one of the things that propelled me to want to become more fluent in Spanish, is that what I was telling the operators the first and the second time before they had the English speaking person on the line, this is what I said to them: I have a suspicious hunger and I need the police. It sounded very much Silence of the Lamb, which is why they didn't understand me. What I was trying to say was there's a suspicious man and I need the police at my house. So there's a big difference between hombre and hombre, right? And you need to be able to pull that out at an instant when your adrenaline is pumping. But I told these folks that I have a suspicious hunger and I need the police, and they probably thought they had Hannibal Lecter on their hands, and I was having a moment. So, which might explain why they rolled up with 5 police cars ready to roll. If you want to know more about why I think Merida is the second safest city in North America, check out this video.